in a civilized, advanced democracy, you have a government that is in power. You have a dominant narrative, no doubt. The media may support it, and the public may support it. But at the same time, you have a very strong opposition that's also given all the due respect. It's given the platform. The audience and viewership gets to hear both narratives, both agendas, both proposals, and then they're able to apply their aql and their mind and to say, okay, you know what, in this case, the government seems to be on the truth here, but in this case, the opposition has a point. This is the kind of religious environment you should have in your communities. And the audience should be trained that, look, you go by dalil, you go by evidence, you go by strength of argument. You don't just blindly follow whoever sits on the mimbar. What World Federation has been offering when they say, you know what, yes, those who have alternative views and alternative researches or things that are not mainstream, we will organize a session, scholars only, behind closed doors, where the public doesn't get to hear the other narrative and the evidence behind it. Baba, you're organizing this session behind closed doors for scholars. Scholars already know half of this stuff. As it is, you people say in Aqidah there is no taqleed. But on the mimbar, you want to impose only one narrative. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. It was just brought to my attention that our respected Sheikh Ali Karmali has released 2 more videos which are addressed to me, and I feel this might be the result of some misunderstanding on his part. It seems that he thought that after the last 4 responses which I issued, that I'm somehow done or finished with him. The reality is we're just getting started and warmed up. As I announced at the very outset, an Islaah volunteer has meticulously and painstakingly captured the key points, arguments, criticisms, and concerns of the beloved Shaykh in the form of clips which were submitted to me in the form of a folder, and that I shall be playing and responding to in detail. So far, we had only just completed responding to just the very first clip, in which the Shaykh expressed, I think, his first important concern, which was about the ambiguity and lack of clarity in goals. And so we delivered a whole 1 hour, 30-minute lecture showing how, as far as our work has been concerned, we have been very honest, upright, and forthright with clarifying our goals and our aims and objectives. But then after we were done responding to that first concern, we received some further questions, or we may refer to them as points of information. You know, those of you who may have seen an Oxford or Cambridge debate, you know, sometimes mid-speech, you know, people will get up in the audience and they'll say point of information. As you're giving your speech, they'll stop you and, you know, they will interject and say, okay, but how do you respond to this? Or what would you say about this? And so we received some interjections from third parties in the comment section, which the admins felt were worth responding to. And so one of them was from Brother Top Dob. I'm assuming he's a brother. And the other was from a youth, I think, from Dar es Salaam, if I'm not mistaken. And so we decided to accommodate them as well and to respond to them. But we are by no means done responding to you, Ya Sheikh. We just responded to your first concern. There are many more that are still to go. And so viewers will recall that Sheikh said he believes in organized and structured reform. So he likes organization and structure, and that's precisely what we're giving him in our response. Because some of the admins were saying that Sheikh is getting a bit impatient now, and he has, in these new videos, he has said, why haven't you responded to, you know, X, Y, Z, or you know, that criticism or that criticism? And the reason behind this is that we haven't gotten to it yet. This is going to be you know, possibly a long series. And the reason why we are proceeding at such a slow and leisurely pace is because we want to go step by step, clip by clip, argument by argument. And the reason why we've decided to do this is because we're not approaching Sheikh's videos with a dismissive or confrontational mindset, whereby we're just looking to refute everything he says. No, that's not the frame of mind, and that's not the mode of thinking that we are approaching Sheikh's criticisms with, that we just want to dismiss and refute and deny or reject. No, far from it. We are listening very carefully to what he says, and we are reflecting critically over it to see if there is any substance in it, if there is any weight in his argument, if his evidence checks out and is the kind that we can actually present before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment and be justified for claiming a certain thing that he wants us to claim or accept at the very least. So we are approaching this whole discussion and engagement with a very receptive mindset, whereby we are watching very carefully with a view to correcting any mistake that is a genuine mistake, which Sheikh may have pointed out, so that we should, remedy it and correct it. And if the points or where the points that he has made are invalid or unacceptable to us, we are pointing out why that is the case. Where we feel an accusation that he has made or a criticism he has directed at us is unfair or untenable or not connected to reality, then we are also pointing that out without mincing any words. So this is just an explanation for why we're not in a hurry or in a rush to respond, and we would appeal to the beloved Sheikh to have sabr and not get impatient. We're actually very grateful to him for raising these important concerns, criticisms, and even objections, because even though from our perspective they are invalid, and we will demonstrate this throughout the course of our response, most of the criticisms we noted are invalid after deeper reflection. But that's just because of our perspective and given what we know about the sources. But obviously from Sheikh's point of view, they would be valid criticisms, although we are hoping he will realize how invalid they are once we show him the sources and the evidence and the thinking and thought process behind our conclusions in those areas. But even if these criticisms are invalid, we can easily see how someone from the outside could easily fall prey to such shubuhat and doubts if he were to watch and go through some of the Islaah content without a proper and deep understanding and appreciation of our methodology and how it actually works and how it's actually implemented and applied to the sources. So in a way, our beloved Sheikh has done us a great favor by raising these concerns and doubts in our lifetime when we are in a position to respond to them and clarify and elaborate our positions. Otherwise, if these same criticisms were raised, and they could very well have been raised after we are no more, and then they could be used to easily mislead people. And so we wouldn't even then have the opportunity to dispel these doubts and remedy these misconceptions at that stage, because by that point we would be on the other side of the curtain of ghaib, and communication with our communities would not be possible. So that's why our plan and vision is to do justice to these criticisms and concerns and to respond to them in detail with evidence, so as to leave no scope and no room for legitimate or reasonable doubt about what we have discussed in the past. So that's why I want to make it very clear we're not in a mood to dismiss or refute the points which the Sheikh has raised in some kind of quick, rapid-fire format, at least not for now. But rather we feel these criticisms that the admin has submitted to us, or the volunteer has submitted to us, they deserve a detailed and in-depth evidence-based analysis and response, where we look at the points Sheikh is raising, we accept what is correct, and we disprove and reject what is incorrect. So contrary to what the Sheikh thought after seeing the first 4 video responses, this is not a 4-course meal. He probably thought that, we're done, and so that's why he came back with 2 more videos and said, well, I'm thankful to you for your response, but I'm still not satisfied, and there are so many other points, key points that you have not addressed. Sheikh, that is because we haven't gotten to the main course. Okay, what we have served you so far are just the starters and the appetizers, and we intend to serve you, and at least, if I go by my folder, there are at least this meal is going to have 18, it's an 18-course heavy and rich meal, because there are at least 18 clips that I have in front of me in my folder here that are still awaiting my response. So inshallah, this is going to be a heavy and rich meal that we are serving you. We're going to go through each of the clips which have been carefully prepared by this Al-Islah volunteer. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him for his painstaking hard work. And then we will respond to each point that is raised in these clips to the best of our ability, inshallah ta'ala. Because Shaykh, for us, you are not just some random visitor, whom we send away with a glass of water and some chai and sambusa. No, you are too beloved to us, and you are someone from within, within the system that's calling for reform and revival. And personally, even, you are very respected and beloved to us. I would say even within the Islaah community, there is overwhelming love and support for you. You are considered to be, even the admins that I was speaking to and the admins in the past, they're all of the opinion that our beloved Sheikh Ali Karmali is the crown jewel of Al-Islah. You are very much Al-Islah, and you're the founder, you're the one who worked so hard to sow the seeds of critical thinking and receptivity to reform among the youths of Dar es Salaam. And so your immense contributions in this area ought to be remembered and appreciated and celebrated, in our humble opinion. And we also really admire you for your bravery and your perseverance. It is so saddening for me to think of how much zulm our beloved Sheikh has had to face in the community in Dar es Salaam. Personal attacks, slander, character assassination, being labeled a deviant and alternative thinker, being deplatformed, and not being allowed to engage with the youths and benefit them with all the knowledge that he acquired in the Hawza Ilmiya of Qum, which is a recognized institution within the community. But just because he's not towing the standard narrative, all of a sudden now he's persona non grata, he's public enemy number one. I mean, he has faced a lot of ugly intolerance from his community as a result, and he has sacrificed a lot. He has staked his reputation, his good name, his family, everything. He put it on the line just to raise awareness and open people's eyes to things that even he now in these videos is admitting that they're problematic, and that they are, that they are the result of what Ayatollah Shaykh Shaheed Murtada al-Mutahari says. They're the result of this process whereby the Islam that has been presented to the public has been presented to them upside down. Or as we mentioned in our lectures, quoting Ayatollah Shaykh Abdullah al-Mamaqani, what was considered to be deviation and ghulu, which would earn you the curses and disassociation of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Today it is being presented to the public from the mimbars, sometimes even from the madaris, sometimes even within the household. Parents, when they're doing tarbiyah, they are passing on beliefs about the Imams, which the Imams themselves and the early classical Shia scholars considered to be pure extremism and ghulu and deviation, heresy and blasphemy. So this is something, when this happens in the community, someone has to stand up, someone has to become the whistleblower, and unfortunately, the whistleblower and those who raise awareness about this have to face a lot. They have to pay a very high personal cost. And Shaykh is one of those who has paid this high personal cost. And this is why we have so much love, respect, and appreciation to him, for his bravery and perseverance and steadfastness in the cause of what he believes to be the truth. So, in reality, Sheikh, we owe it to you to provide you a detailed response. You and I, we go way back. We used to play, for those of the viewers who don't know, Sheikh Ali Karmali and I, back when I was in my أوائل أيام الشباب أو أيام الصبا, I should say, in my early teens, we used to play football together, me and Sheikh, believe it or not. And what can I say here? Alikuwa anachenga vizuri sana bana. He was really great with the ball. He used to he used to dribble the ball really well, and he used to make our heads spin when the ball used to be in his control. And I can see he hasn't lost his Shenga skills and in tactics, even when it comes to argumentation. But we've learned from experience how to deal with him. And inshallah, we will also put forward a solid defense, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And yes, even in my visits to Dar es Salaam, I have to say it has always been a real pleasure to sit down with the beloved Sheikh. He's such a humble, down-to-earth, loving and caring personality. This is what has endeared him to the entire Al-Islah community and also to many in the traditional community who, despite having differences of opinion with him due to the ghulu versus traditional conflict, they still speak highly of him and they still revere him and respect him and have the insaf and the fairness to say that yes, he is somebody who is well versed in his field and he's someone whose akhlaq and whose ilm is something that is very much a source of inspiration for the youths. So to me personally, Sheikh has been a very gracious and generous Sheikh. I still remain grateful to him for all the kindness and love that he has shown me. And I want to appeal to Sheikh. I was going to do this towards the end, but I can also do it now that we believe he should be joining forces once again with Al-Islah and with the Al-Islah community, and he should seriously consider returning to the social media groups, whether they be on WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook or all the other platforms that are there. We believe he should be an active presence, especially now that he has some time away from his studies. Because I had mainly taken over lecturing for Al-Islah when the Sheikh was unable to continue lecturing. And he was unable to hold online sessions and classes due to his decision to resume more advanced studies in Qom. So I came in with the mind frame of a substitute teacher or a teaching assistant who teaches when the main teacher is away. But now the Sheikh seems to have become distant from his class. And we want to say to him that class is in session, Sheikh. And the Al-Islah youths and community members, they love you, they respect you, they revere you and admire you, and they're waiting for you. They want you to continue your work, not just through your own platform, but also on this platform. There is still so much common ground, okay? They want to see you back. And it doesn't matter if we have differences of opinion. Al-Islah does not belong to me. This is not my personal space. I myself am only a substitute teacher, or you could say a guest lecturer over here. And I have absolutely no issues sharing the stage and working together with people of different views and beliefs and methodologies, because this is exactly what I'm used to doing at my university. You think in our department, all of us are of the same methodology and approach. In our university, we have not just sectarian diversity, we have religious diversity. We work with people who are not from our religion. And we all have a peaceful academic environment where we're free to discuss things. So I don't believe that Al-Islah should be this kind of closed space where only one kind of thinking or only one kind of reform is given the platform. No. We believe that the shuyukh and the mashayikh and learned people who want to revive aspects of the deen and who want to reform wrongs in society, in our community, in the belief system, in fiqh, in ethics, in ritual, in practice, anyone who wants to reform and revive should be welcome to come to Al-Islah and present their research. And so in light of this, I wanted to appeal to Sheikh Ali Karmali to consider. I know at heart he's always going to be an Islahi, but we would like to see him more active with Al-Islah as he used to be in the past, and we would like to see him on the social media groups so that he should be and he should feel free to contribute his research-based insights, his concerns, his critiques. This is very important. I myself have said in the past that as far as religious scholarship is concerned and religious guidance in the community is concerned, we should adopt a democratic system whereby, in democratic, civilized, advanced countries of the world, in advanced democracies, You don't have this system whereby you just have one political party that has one agenda and they're in power and the opposition is all in prison or it's thrown out of the country or deported. That's not what a civilized advanced democracy is supposed to be like. In a civilized advanced democracy, you have a government that is in power, you have a dominant narrative, no doubt. The media may support it and the public may support it, but at the same time, you have a very strong opposition that's also given all the due respect. It's given the platform. In many parliamentary systems, when it's question time, the government representative, the prime minister will speak and the opposition will question him and they will launch their criticisms and their concerns and the PM will respond to them. So both sides are represented. The audience and viewership gets to hear both narratives, both agendas, both proposals, and then they're able to apply their aql and their mind and to say, okay, you know what, in this case, the government seems to be on the truth here, but in this case, the opposition has a point. This is the kind of religious environment you should have in your communities. You shouldn't be banning and deplatforming every dissenting voice, my friends and my dearest brothers and sisters. This is not the way to go about, but rather you need to have that richness and diversity. Obviously, the red lines you can draw on the absolute qat'iyat and musallamat of the deen. Okay, Allah has given us a core belief system in the Quran. Yes, you can say no compromise on that. But other than that, when it comes to sectarian matters, when it comes to things that are disputed inside the sect, you have 2 camps or 3 camps or multiple opinions. Why do you need to be so intolerant in these areas, right? You can have a sheikh who comes and presents a certain view, and you can have another sheikh who presents an alternative and opposing view. And the audience should be trained that, look, you go by dalil, you go by evidence, you go by strength of argument. You don't just blindly follow whoever sits on the mimbar. Look at their evidence. Even if you don't like what they're saying, there's no reason to lose your cool or to get upset or violent or, start opposing that person and character assassinating. But that's one research, another research, a third research. Expose people to multiple narratives and then let them choose for themselves. As it is, you people say in Aqidah there is no taqleed. But on the mimbar you want to impose only one narrative. No, if in Aqidah there is no taqleed, then you should be in matters of Aqidah and belief, and even in fiqh, even though they affirm taqleed in fiqh, but in fiqh you have multiple fuqaha and multiple maraja. So what if somebody presents the fatwa of a certain marji' which does not agree with the mainstream fatwa? So what? Now you will deplatform that person, you will kick him out, you will launch a campaign against him? That is not the right way to go about it. So in any case, unfortunately, our traditional communities are not following that civilized, advanced democratic pattern whereby you allow dissenting voices a platform, not behind closed doors. This would be a joke. What World Federation has been offering when they say, you know what, yes, those who have alternative views and alternative researches or things that are not mainstream, we will organize a session, scholars only, behind closed doors, where the public doesn't get to hear the other narrative and the evidence behind it. Baba, you're organizing this session behind closed doors for scholars. Scholars already know half of this stuff. And if they don't know, then they're not scholars really. Then they're ignorant juhala posing as scholars. So it's not the scholars who need to be exposed to the evidence for revival and reform in the earliest sources. It's the awam, the masses, the public. They have been taken for a ride. They have been lied to. They have been exposed only to one narrative. And that's why naturally they think this is the only narrative and they think it's the haqq. But if you give them more options, but you draw the boundaries very clear that whatever you offer has to have backing from the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith of Ahlul Bayt, and you say, well, but what if someone misinterprets, Baba? If they misinterpret, there are tons of shuyukh to refute those misinterpretations now. So that is why this is the World Federation, unfortunately, and their respected president, what they have been offering is a joke. I mean, think of it in the United Kingdom. If the government were to say, you know what, this question time is embarrassing for us every week, on Wednesday, the leader of the opposition comes and he raises criticisms and he presents a different narrative. He shows the mistakes of the government and he criticizes the government. This is too embarrassing. So what we're going to do is let's take the opposition, put them in some prison or lock them in some place, and then we'll send our political advisors and representatives to go and meet them behind closed doors and listen to their arguments and their criticisms and their objections. Would the United Kingdom have any respect left in the world if they were to do this? People would say that you are no longer a progressive democracy, you've become now an autocratic dictatorship. Unfortunately, this autocratic and undemocratic mode of thinking is what is dominating our traditional communities. And inshallah, in the future, we have hope that this will erode with time. The more young and fresh blood comes into positions of power and leadership, this will change, inshallah ta'ala. Change takes time. And so in the meantime, we're making do with whatever resources we have and whatever we can do best. But if the traditional community has fallen short in this area, then the Al-Islah community can serve as a good role model. The Al-Islah community can be a community that listens to and gives platform to differing perspectives, provided they are backed by the Quran and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, and they do not attack the foundational pillars of the deen of Islam, which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought. You should be interested in that deen. The sects are later man-made constructs, and even scholars admit that sects have changed so much. What used to be ghulu in the past, today it is correct aqidah. What is correct aqidah, the sect in the past used to. So sect is not hujjah. Your sect has been changing. Even they keep on saying mainstream. I have a whole lecture that I can give, which will be a lengthy lecture, just showing you how radically the mainstream has changed. The mainstream Shia of the Shia Imamiyya Ithna Ashariya of the 3rd century, what their mainstream belief was today, of the 3rd and 4th century, their mainstream belief today is deviation. If you come with those beliefs, they will call you Wahhabi, they will call you deviant, and today's mainstream belief, if it were taken to that time, those ulama would reject it and they would say this is ghulu. And I gave you the quotations from Al-Wahid al-Bihbahani and Al-Fadil al-Ha'iri and these others who said that if the ulama of Qum who are present in Qum today, if the classical ulama of Qum were to come today, they would have to expel all the current day scholars, because the current day narrative and mainstream has changed so radically. So in any case, my point was to tell Sheikh that even though the traditional community has not set a good example in terms of, giving platform to dissenting voices and allowing them platform, allowing them to engage with the youths and with the masses and presenting research, if they have not done that, why can't we at Al-Islah do that? And why don't we start with ourselves? You and I may have differences in opinion, we may have divergent perspectives, we may have irreconcilable differences even though we are both on, in principle, we both agree on the need for reform and revival, and we both agree that it should be organized and structured, but we have differences of opinion about how it should be organized and how it should be structured. But still, that should not stop us from pursuing our vision and our understanding, each of us according to our ijtihad and our understanding and what we consider best. So you are welcome to pursue reform and to work towards it using this platform or any other platform that you like as per your vision and agenda. And I should be given the same freedom which alhamdulillah you and everyone else have given me in the past and are continuing to give me. We can have multiple perspectives. We can have multiple people working towards the same cause in different ways. That does not detract from the goals of reform and revival. So that's why this is just a humble appeal to our beloved Sheikh to consider resuming his activities with the Al-Islah, inshaAllah ta'ala, and also from his own platform. And we also the new admins were requesting me to pass on another request they have for Sheikh Ali Karmali. They noticed within the archives some unreleased lectures of the beloved and learned Sheikh Ali Karmali touching areas of reform like Azadari and the historicity of many of the historical narratives, as well as cultural and ritualistic practices which have been associated with Muharram. And I personally recall I had attended those lectures online, and I found them to be very useful and beneficial. So it would be great, Ya Sheikh, if you could also give Al-Islah admins permission to release these very useful and informative lectures, as we feel that they would be of great benefit to the masses, inshallah. They can be released, I'm not saying immediately, but maybe around the time of Muharram or at any other appropriate time to be decided by the admins. Inshallah, that would also be very beneficial. And whatever other scope there is for joint work and collaborative action on the Al-Islah front with you, Ya Sheikh, we welcome it with both arms and from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope that inshallah ta'ala it will be fruitful and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase our tawfiqat and bless our efforts with success, inshallah ta'ala. That being said, I will go through some of the latest clips which the Al-Islah volunteer has sent me, capturing some of the latest points which Sheikh has made. Before returning to the original folder, which has at least 18 clips in it and 18 arguments or points that we will inshallah also be responding to in due course of time. We would ask Sheikh to have sabr. This may be a long drawn out process. In between, we might have Shahru Ramadan, which will come in which we will obviously shift our focus to more spiritual topics, which enable our people to rebuild their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But inshallah, even after Shahru Ramadan, this process can continue. I think you as well have been approached by third parties even before this started. And these third parties have very generously offered to facilitate a direct face-to-face meeting with you, Ya beloved Sheikh. And I welcome that, inshallah ta'ala, as soon as it works out, given my local commitments and my professional and personal commitments. Inshallah, as soon as it works out, we will also be trying for that. But in the meantime, I will definitely try to respond to all the important points that have been isolated and that have been flagged as being worthy of being responded to by Al-Islah volunteers and also by the advisory council. And so inshallah ta'ala, you will be receiving our responses in full and in depth and in detail with evidence, inshallah ta'ala, to all of those points. That being said, I will, as I said, go through some of the latest clips which the Al-Islah volunteer had sent me, capturing the Sheikh's latest points, and I will endeavor to respond to them and then resume responding to all the other points one after the other until we reach the end. And after we are done, I will be issuing a final concluding response. And after that, if Sheikh feels that we left out anything, because obviously volunteers, admins, I myself, we are only human. It's possible that in the end, there might still be some points that you feel should have been addressed. Maybe we failed to address them or forgot about them. You can always alert us to them, and we will, inshallah, hopefully also try to address them as well and get back to you with our responses to those, inshallah ta'ala. So among the latest clips that were shared to me by the Al-Islah volunteer, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, the first clip that I've been asked to respond to is this one.
I would like to appreciate the respected Syed for taking out time to respond, at least respond with good akhlaq, alhamdulillah. And I appreciate that very much. Now, if we don't agree on anything towards the end of this discussion, at least one thing I believe we should be able to display to the public, that it's possible to have a dialogue, a conversation, a discussion without accusing each other, without speaking ill of each other. And it's possible to be honest and frank and still have a very good civil dialogue with each other. Yeah. So I hope that's at least the minimum result we can achieve out of these discussions.
In response to this, I would say that the feeling of appreciation for good akhlaq is definitely mutual. It's two-sided. and not just one-sided or unrequited. We are also most grateful and appreciative of the respectful and kind manner in which the beloved Shaykh has responded to us. I don't feel I deserve any special credit for observing good akhlaq in my responses to the Shaykh, because I think observing good akhlaq may be difficult or challenging when you're responding to someone that you don't like or that you don't love and respect genuinely. But when we are speaking to the respected and beloved Shaykh, we are speaking to someone who is very dear and beloved to us on a personal level. So no matter how many differences of opinion there are between us, لا يفسد للود قضية, as they say, they do not serve to create any bad blood or ill will between us, alhamdulillah, and we remain on the best terms, بتوفيق الله تعالى. Towards the end of his message of appreciation, the Shaykh mentioned that he hoped that even if we are not able to achieve agreement through this back and forth engagement, at least we would be providing the public with an example of how we can have dialogue and discussion without accusing each other and without speaking ill of each other. And it's possible to be honest and frank and still have a very good civil dialogue with each other. I would say I agree with this point, and the only thing that I will add is that while the Shaykh said that this proves that we can have a dialogue without accusing each other, I feel, and this is just my humble opinion, I am ready to be corrected if I'm wrong in this, but even in this experience, the feeling that I got is that when you critique someone's ideas or their positions, there can also be a fair bit of accusations which get thrown around. So for example, in our case, if you recall, we mentioned in our previous response that the Shaykh had accused us of attributing, for example, taqiyya to Allah and His Messenger, which we said in our response, we said that this is a buhtan, it's a slander against us, as we would never ever dream of attributing taqiyya to Allah and His Messenger. Because we've been very clear, taqiyya is for lay people who are not hujaj of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, the Quran cannot be taqiyya. Quran is something that Allah is revealing to guide us. If in this book of guidance, wal-'iyadhu billah, we are lied to or falsehood is presented to us for whatever fear, then we will be misguided. And there will be no way for us to emerge from that misguidance, because the Quran, which is the hujjah of Allah against us, has basically, na'udhu billah, in that case misguided us or misled us or lied to us. Wal-'iyadhu billah. So it is impossible for something that is actually a hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which Allah plans to use against us on the Day of Judgment, for Allah to allow that thing to contain falsehood and lies or statements that are opposite or contrary to the truth, or that are economical with the truth that is needed for salvation, then that is impossible. We said that is impossible, and that's why when Allah talks about the Quran, what does He say? First of all, when He talks about Himself, He says, Wallahu la yastahi min al-haq. Allah does not shy away from the truth. He is not stopped by any concern from stating the truth. That is Allah. And as far as His book is concerned, He says, لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه تنزيل من حكيم حميد. Forget about, you cannot, in your wildest dreams, you cannot imagine there being an error or any fault or mistake or falsehood in this Quran. Allah says, لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه. Falsehood cannot approach, cannot come near it. Neither from in front nor from behind. تنزيل من حكيم حميد. It is the revelation of the all-wise and all-praiseworthy Lord. So in any case, given our understanding of Islam, it is absolutely impossible and inconceivable for Allah and His Messenger to state the opposite of what is true, or to state something that is contrary to the truth out of any kind of fear. Okay. When the Messenger of Allah is transmitting guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he can never do that. And so because of this, you can see in response to Shaykh's accusation, we made a counter accusation, which is that what Shaykh is saying amounts to buhtan against us. But still, even as we did that, we made it very clear that we're not angry or upset with the Shaykh for this. We don't have any personal ill will against him now because of this. We forgive him for this. And the reason for this is that when you are sincerely working for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not for your own personal glory or ambition or worldly goals, then you don't really mind it when someone comes along and tries to tell you that you might be wrong about something. Okay, because at that point, the example that I can give is at that point, you're like a pilot, for example, who is sincerely and diligently trying to fly a plane and take it to its destination. The desired destination being salvation and Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, in our case. So even if, let's say, a co-pilot or first officer in the cockpit accuses me as I'm trying to fly the plane of something that I am innocent of, like let's say he misinterprets a hand gesture of mine and feels like I have turned off the plane's engines mid-flight. And so he accuses me of that and says, Sayyid, I think you've done that. Even if his claim turns out to be false, even if the accusation turns out to be false and incorrect, I still should not be upset with him. And in fact, I would not be upset with him because I would actually be happy that he thought about our safety and he took no chances with it. Do you see? So in the same way, when our goal is to work for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our motive is sincere, we're not doing this for dunya, we're doing this for akhirah, we want salvation and Jannah for us and for our communities, for our beloved brothers and sisters, including the traditional ones who are trying to lay thorns in our path. We sincerely desire Jannah for them. We don't curse or abuse or do bad dua, as they say, malediction against them. No. Even our worst enemies in these communities, we still pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them and to open their eyes to where they have gone wrong. And for us, we every single day, ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, in every prayer and after every prayer, we constantly seek guidance and help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, if there is any mistake, if there is any error, Ya Allah, open our eyes to it here before we get stuck at the time of hisab, because time of hisab, point of no return. But here you have the chance, every time you discover a mistake or fault or flaw or error, you can remedy it, you can introduce course correction, and you can reform yourself as well. So my point is that if you're, at the end of the day, even if someone accuses you inadvertently of something that you're actually innocent of, but if your motive is sincere and you're working for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the end of the day, you will still not be upset, because you will have the satisfaction of knowing that the person who is trying to warn you or express a concern to you is only a friend and well-wisher. And so I also hope that, any of the counter accusations that we make, Shaykh also approaches them with the same spirit. So I was a bit concerned that, when we launched our counter accusation that, Shaykh, this claim about us that you have made, that we are attributing taqiyya to Allah and the Messenger, this is buhtan against us. I was a bit concerned that, Shaykh might not take it. Shaykh will say, oh, he's accusing me of buhtan. But the reality is there is no other word that I have to express if I'm going to be honest and blunt, then this is basically, from our perspective, this is what it looks like to us, that there is slander and buhtan being done against us. But still, and of course, we have still not given the proof. Shaykh was asking for proof. Where is the definition of taqiyya? And what is the grounds for you saying that, I've invented my own definition of taqiyya? Shaykh, when we come to the clip, so right now we are at the appetizer stage. We haven't got into the thick of the case. But inshallah, when we get to it, we will show you. We'll show you the definitions of taqiyya, and we will show how you had to ignore both the Shia understanding of taqiyya and the Sunni understanding of taqiyya. You had to, tupambali, you threw it completely outside the window, and then you developed your own imaginary understanding of taqiyya. And with that understanding, you said, well, according to this understanding, yes, we can accuse Syed Ali Hur of attributing taqiyya to Allah and His Messenger. But you can only do that if you have an imaginary, non-existent understanding of taqiyya, which has no connection to reality. Yani it's not accepted by any scholar or by anyone in this ummah. This is just something that you I don't know how your mind slipped and you ended up imagining that this could be a form of taqiyya, when aslan these instances that you are citing, they go against the very definition of taqiyya, as I will show you when we get to the clip. But my point is that, when we engage in criticisms of each other and our methodologies, arguments, you might make certain accusations against us. We may make certain counter accusations, but again, لا يفسد للود قضية. None of this should create any ill will, because we know at the end of the day we are pilots inside the same plane. We are in the same boat, proverbially speaking. We both desire khair for our communities. We both desire salvation and higher stations of Jannah for our communities. We both desire that we should all fulfill the vision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has laid out for our communities. So in light of all of this, even if you accuse us of something, or we counter accuse you of falsely accusing us of something, none of this is to be taken personally, but rather it is to be taken as evidence of how frank and how honest we are with each other and how much we trust each other, that we will not be upset or hurt by these kinds of things, because ultimately this is not about you, this is not about me, this is about the haqq and the truth, and the haqq and truth trumps everything else. It trumps all personal considerations. So this was just a clarification that I wanted to make, that yes, there might be, when there is criticism, there might be accusations, there might be claims. Some of them may be true, some of them may be false, but at the end of the day, they should all be taken in a sincere spirit, and they should not be seen as a personal attack or as an attempt to downgrade or degrade or discredit the other person, but rather they should be seen for what they are, which is just a concern that the person or the interlocutor has with the other interlocutor. So yes, that I think sums up what I wanted to say in response to this particular clip.